Hi, everybody. I cannot see you. I do see that we have about 2/3 of our attendees that are in the room, but go ahead and in the chat box, say hello, just so that I can see who's there. And our presenter today just joined our room, Andrew Vaughn of Deviant Marketing. I'm so excited about this presentation. We're going to be talking about how to market effectively during quarantine. He has tips for you to use right away, both free things you can do on your own and things that if you have a marketing budget that you want to spend, things you can do that way too. So part of the way if this is your first time to one of our webinars, part of the way we like to run things is Drew is going to be in control of his presentation, of course, but I also tend to interrupt here and there when I think something might need a little more clarification, or if I think a question comes up. But I encourage you also to go ahead and chat in the box. I'll be monitoring those chats. We'll work your comments into the presentation so that the presentation can be relevant to you. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to shoot them into the chat as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn this over to Drew. So
hey, everybody.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You sound good.
Perfect. All right. All right. And are we seeing the Dan, are you able to see the slides?
I'm sorry. Did you want to pull your slides up, or did you want?
I did. Are you able to see them now?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Hey, everybody. So I am Drew Vaughn. We're going to be talking about marketing to actually get you clients and stuff you can do right now. So you'll be able to take this set of materials and hopefully implement things basically immediately. There will also be a copy of these materials that you can download off of our website, deviantmarketing.com. In the marketing tips, it's the first entry there. So if you need to get a copy of these for staff or anybody else, you can grab that there. In terms of who I am, I usually tell people about the story that I grew up on a chicken and turkey farm. And when I was 2, my little brother was born. I was not listening to my parents, which will shock anybody who has a 2-year-old. Ended up sprinting out of the house while everybody was looking at the baby. Came eye to eye with a big rooster who decided that wanted to peck at these bright blue marbles in my eyes and basically took my face off. And so I say that because then anytime I talk about anything I accomplish in my career, you can know that I am not that big of a deal, because at the end of the day, if you're almost taken out by a chicken, there is nothing super important or great destined for your future. So when I talk about the stuff where, went on to be a professor at a law school, built a law firm that doubled in revenue every year off of digital marketing, that, I have an MBA, I've been named one of the top 100 marketers. I'm the only marketer who's won essentially Legal Ad of the Year 2 times, things like that.
Blah, blah.
Yeah, I'm still just a jackass who got attacked by a chicken once. So, and there I am right there. This is a picture from the 80s. Be glad this is in black and white because those shorts are neon. So that is who I am. Those are Grand Champion turkeys. So just to be clear, I have been a winner from the beginning. But that's who I am. So now, but none of that shit matters. The only thing that matters is how to actually get clients. And so this is an email I got from one of my marketing clients during quarantine. This is a divorce attorney in Illinois, where I said, hey, I've got this crazy idea. I want to try something. And her response to me was, hey, that something crazy worked. We got 2 new leads yesterday and 1 today. Keep it up. And that was some of the stuff that I'm going to be teaching you here today. So today we're going to work through 3 core concepts. What can you do for free, right? Because if cash flow is tight right now, what does that look like? Then we're going to talk about what can you do that's paid, but that you can do that's paid so you don't have to hire a guy like me, so you can do some of this yourself. And then ultimately, what does the future of all this look like if we have time to get through all of that, okay? All right, so let's talk about the free stuff, the best things you can do. All right, so now every single one of us, I guarantee as attorneys, we're trained to get clients the same way, right? Do a good job for your existing clients and the work will just magically somehow show up. Turns out magic is not a great way to try and build your business. The second thing we were all taught was, hey, then go do networking. Because if you really want to get advanced, people will send you more referrals the more people that you know. Obviously, during quarantine, not a whole lot of networking going on right now, but you should already have a network that's established. Here's the difficulty with having a network that's established. I guarantee that everybody who is in this conference right now has gone to coffee or lunch with a financial planner within the last year. Somebody who reached out and wanted to go with you, and it was one of these guys, and you couldn't tell me. One of these guys had coffee with you, and you have no idea what their name is. Now, here's the problem. All of that beautiful network that you think is going to send you all that business, they're having the exact same problem. They're thinking right now, who's that divorce attorney that I really like? That personal injury attorney that I thought was funny. You know, the bankruptcy attorney who I thought had really brilliant ideas to protect their clients. They have no idea. You're one of these guys to them. So how do you fix that? The way you fix that is by having a really simple daily social media plan that will remind people of who you are every day. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's say that we want to build content. Number one, content is what you're going to share with people. Google News is a free tool. This is super simple. I know you're probably like, this idiot is out here talking about using Google. Yes, I'm fucking saying use Google. Google News is a super simple tool that you can.
By the way, people, this is not a family-friendly show.
No, it is not. All my children are in the other room. The door is locked, so I'm free to take the filter off. And I haven't talked to somebody who's older than 6 in like a month. So congratulations on a flood of profanity. All right, so through Google News, you can tailor your news feed to things that are relevant to your practice area or things that are topical for right now. So let's say you're an attorney in Illinois and you're practicing in Kane County. Here is an article about, hey, here's what the new Kane County procedures are going to be in order to reopen the courthouses. That could be an article that you could share to remind people, hey, things are changing. Here's what's going on. So here's what you do. You open that article, you copy the link, and you take it to the next site, which is Sniply. Now, you guys have probably all used at some point a link shortener like Bitly, or Google has their own version. Everybody has one of these things where you can shorten a link. I like Sniply because it not only shortens it, it also tracks the data, but most importantly, it basically lets you hijack the internet. So you can add your own call to action to any news story. So what you do is you sign up for Sniply. Once you create an account, which is free, you can then create your own snip by just taking that URL that you copied and pasted and put it right where I put this arrow here. Then click the button to create a snip. And then it'll say, hey, what do you want to add on to this? Now, I put for my call to action, yes, I'm hijacking this website, just so that it will jump out at you. Obviously, don't use that. Use something like, hey, want to talk to Dana about such and such topic? And then you can put a button that's to click here. And that click here will redirect people to your website. So now you take this, and Dana, can you move those videos for us real quick? And what will happen once you create that snip, it will create a link to this news story. And what will happen is you can see in that bottom left corner where we just moved the videos off of it, it has my logo. It says, yes, I'm hijacking this website. And if you click that blue click here button, it would direct you to deviantmarketing.com. So now what I can do is I can take all of that and share it. I can write one sentence about that story about, hey, Kane County Courthouse is to reopen with new social distancing rules. I attach my Sniply link, the shortened link, and when people click on it, what they're going to see is the actual story. They're still going to get the news, but now they can be redirected to me. Now, what this does is this saves you from the problem where if you've ever clicked on an article in Facebook or in LinkedIn, and then you clicked back and you lost that person in your feed or you lost that link, this solves that problem because now they can be directly redirected to you, and you can now track how many of those people clicked on this. Now, why the hell am I telling you to do all of this, right? The reason is that, remember all those financial planners, all the guys who look exactly the same that forgot about you? This allows you to remind them who you are and what you do. And if they see Drew Vaughn, divorce attorney, every single day, something about divorce, child custody, visitation, guess what happens? It becomes much, much easier for them to refer you business. All right, so now that's kind of a general concept. So now, if we want to get specific, if you go through the math, the numbers of the average number of LinkedIn connections, Facebook connections, Twitter connections, and say how many times on average will someone see a post if you just do this every business day of the week, Monday through Friday, take a story from Google News, take it to Sniply, and share it in those locations, you will be seen 8,184 additional times by your referral network.
Okay,
now,
question.
Shoot.
For my first question is, let me just make sure I understand everything that you said in summary.
Yeah.
So you're saying find news articles that are relevant to your practice.
Yep.
In order to share that information through your social media channels.
Yes.
But don't do that without creating the Sniply link that will connect your viewers to you.
Correct.
And this is for everyone or your network? Is this for everyone, including your prospective clients? Or is this for, because a lot of attorneys will have kind of contact lists of their network and colleagues and, those sorts of people? Or are you saying this is what we should just be doing on our social media entirely?
You should be doing this in your social media across the board. So on LinkedIn, creating one post every morning. On Twitter, creating at least one post every morning. On your Facebook business page, which we'll talk about here in a second, as well as on your Facebook personal page.
Okay, and this is about these news stories. Now,
correct.
Let's say you want to, this is not something you want to spend every morning. Is this something that would still be effective if, let's say, on a Monday morning or a Friday evening or afternoon, you set aside a couple hours where you go looking around for news clips that are kind of recent, and then you go ahead and schedule it out all next week?
Yes, you can absolutely do that. A lot of the scheduling tools cost money. So I do this, and I put it this way specifically so that you wouldn't have to pay anything. There are some tools. Hootsuite used to offer a free tool. Buffer used to offer a free tool. So you just have to check to see if they offer those still the same scheduling options. But if you have free scheduling tools, that's absolutely a great way to save your time, to say, hey, I'm going to spend my Sunday night when I'm not going to be typically working, just schedule out my social media posts and make sure this happens.
Yeah, instead of relaxing and having, some TV time or family time or good quality mental health time, you could be scheduling out your social media.
Now, you could do that. And that's part of why I structure it this way, because when I practice, I actually use this tool and this exact system. And the reason I did that is once you have set up a Sniply account and you have all of your Facebook account, all of your social media set up, this takes less than 5 minutes a day. And so it's not a big ask to say, like, hey, when I sit down on my computer, before I check email, before I do anything, while I'm drinking my coffee, I do one social media post, and then we go right back to that.
Okay, I did a fun little dashboard thing because since we were having a little conversation, I thought I would enlarge our faces a little bit. One of our viewers had a question, and I'm not sure if you saw it to the side, but that's okay. That's why I'm here. It was whether you think this might have any an issue in solicitation rules for attorneys.
No. So Jim Grogan, who used to head the ethics board with the ARDC, was my ethics professor at Loyola. I frequently used him as a sounding board for, hey, let's look at this technology and see what's going on. We've actually, later on this year, you'll see I'm lecturing for the ISBA. One of our potential topics is essentially ethical marketing and dealing with the advancements in technology. This is in no way solicitation. So the way that solicitation is broken down effectively by the ARDC through the rules is like finding out that someone was injured and showing up at their house. They open the door and you stick your foot in the door to make sure they can't close it. So you're going to somebody who you know has a legal need and letting them know that this happens. This is no different than saying, listing in your LinkedIn title that you are a bankruptcy attorney or a divorce attorney or a criminal defense attorney. This is simply sharing valuable content and letting people know what you do. So it is nothing at all to do with the solicitation side.
And I know that example that you used is like a real clear black and white example, but let's talk about something more gray real quick, because when we're sending out mailers or postcards, this is essentially an electronic type of mailer, or when we're sending out maybe a newsletter, I think some sort of kind of disclaimer that this might be advertising material has been recommended, just to make sure that.
So that used to be a recommendation. So in 2015, the ARDC and the version of the ARDC in every other state got together and issued a white paper on the ethics of legal marketing and where they saw the future going. And in essence, what every state said was, We do not have the ability to police this. Number one, we lack the technology to follow up with this. Number two, technology is changing so fast, we can't keep up with what is happening. Number three, when they did a study of who actually complained about attorney marketing, it was never
attorneys.
It was attorneys complaining about other attorneys who they hated and saying, "Oh, look at what fucking Dana's doing," and they send it into the ARDC.
They all said that. I know.
And so they said, from an ethical standpoint, this is not doing what it was intended to do, because the concept was we want to protect clients. And so what they came out with was a set of general rules that they are recommending being adopted by the ABA. And you're starting to see some of the early phase-in of some changes on the marketing rules at the ABA model rule level. That's going to be trickling down to states. We've seen it already some of it enacted in Virginia and a couple of other places. But the general big picture concept of where marketing is going and ethical marketing rules are, you cannot lie in anything that you post. And you need to make sure that people know who it is that's posting it. So have your name or your firm's name somewhere with it. But as long as you're not misleading the public, they don't care where you put it. They don't care what disclaimers you have on it and those types of things. So in the long run, that is where they're heading with all of these rules. And if you go to any of the ARDC's current lectures in terms of the ethics of marketing and where they're going, you'll see very similar concepts to that. And that's kind of the long-term picture is marketing is going to be much, much, much less policed going forward, because frankly, most of these rules were just an abject failure.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. I'm going to move your presentation back over.
All right, so what this does is this gives you the ability to get in front of those potential referral sources essentially for free, right? Instead of having to, and you don't have to waste a bunch of time writing a blog or creating your own content. Here, you're basically letting Google find the content for you. You are sharing it in a way that allows it to be relevant, and it allows you to get in front of a ton of people automatically. Now, here's my favorite part of this. If you do this every day, every single attorney that I've worked with and said, just implement this free system. If you do this every day for a year, they've added over $100,000 of business in new referrals over the year prior. So this is a chance to add real money to your law firm simply by having people remember who you are. All those extra people that are, look, your mom, your college roommates, your close friends, they're going to send you business anyhow. The people you really liked and hung out with in law school, they're going to send you referrals anyhow. However, the people that you went and got that one coffee with, the guys from the picture of the financial guys, those people are going to forget about you. But if you can remind them whenever they have a case, of like, oh yeah, I remember Dana, she was awesome, and then they send it to you because now you're top of mind. So this is effectively a top of mind strategy to build on all the work you already did, getting and building a network. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so now let's talk about all of our favorite topics, which is ourselves, right? So now what if you are the subject of something that you could then share? What if you could become the content that they're talking about? So here are a couple of things that you should know about. This tool is freaking amazing. This is helpareporter.com. It's also called HARO, because the old name used to be Help a Reporter Out. If you go to this website, there's that blue button there that says, I'm a source. Just click that and sign up for it. Then for free, 3 times a day, you will get an email that lists out all the journalists who are looking for somebody to talk to about an article that they're writing. And so here's one where it's an outline from Best Life Online, seeking lawyers, employment specialists preferred to weigh in on the legality of employers insisting upon taking employees' temperatures as a criteria for allowing them to work. So now here's one where if we have any employment attorneys on the in the webinar here, you have an opportunity to respond to this email. You literally just click on that blue link, respond and say, I'm so-and-so, I own such and such law firm, I practice employment law, here's my response to this specific topic. And then if they choose to use your response, all of a sudden they'll typically say, hey, give us a link back to your website, let us have a headshot of you or whatever, and then you get included in all of these kinds of things. Now this is one where it's, I tried to pick current things. So I think this is from last week where it's hey, from Best Life Online. So if you're wondering like, okay, well, who the hell has ever heard of Best Life Online? I don't even know what that is. This is also big time news outlets. So here's one from the day before where somebody from NBC was asking for input on an article that they were going to be putting out that then was potentially going to lead to a slot on TV. So this is no joke. You can actually get into a lot of this stuff. And so here's some of the shots from back when I was an attorney, and people would ask, like, how did this idiot from a chicken farm end up all over the place? This is the answer, is I just understand that these tools exist and how to use them. So like if you look at this list, you've got Cranes, CNBC, there's Yahoo Finance. If I had a bigger shot, it would include Money Magazine, MSNBC, a whole bunch of other outlets, including like the Sun Times and a bunch of other places. And that's because I just responded to these kinds of emails. So if you want to give your firm the ability to get in the news, which is great free press, and then take that story, where I could take this story where I was in the Chicago Tribune, and I can now take that to Snipply, and I can now share it across my social media networks, it becomes really easy for someone to refer you. And they're like, oh, you should check out my friend Dana. She was just in the news for A, B, and C. It makes what you're doing is giving someone, essentially, if you were in the book club, you might have read the How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the elements in that book that they talk about that people want is the ability to feel important. And if you can be the person who makes them feel important, where they can say, man, I know this kick-ass attorney who's in the news all the time, it makes it really easy for them to refer stuff to you. And you can make a lot more money that way. I know.
Well, Drew, I'm so glad you brought up the book club. So, let me just take 3 seconds and tell everybody who may not know that the Friendly Lawyers has a book club now. And Drew is referring to our very first meeting last night, which was on this book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends? No, How to Influence People. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Okay, back to you, Drew.
All right. Can you click it back over to the presentation here? There we go. All right. So this is how, if you're an idiot from a chicken farm, you can get into this. So if I can get into the news, if I can make it in the Chicago Tribune, every single one of you guys could, because I know some of the attorneys who are on this thing, and they're substantially more talented than I was as an attorney, and they should definitely be here. So if you ever wonder why it is that the best attorneys sometimes aren't the ones who are quoting this, it's because they don't know these tools exist and they don't know how to use them. Okay? Now, I still use this for my business today because this is such a great tool. So I was just in a news story within the last year off of responding to one of these requests when we added like $2.5 million to a personal injury firm by adding texting into their marketing. And so then an organization that writes about essentially texting technology included us in an article. I got in that news story because I responded to a HARO report saying, yeah, here's a client of mine that you can talk to. Here's what we did. Here's how we did it. Here's how we incorporated text into this. And it let them then get my client and myself into the news for this. Now, I can then do the exact same thing that we talked about, where now I'm the content. I'm in a story. I go and I snip it, and I share this across social media. And it looks something like this, where you got I wrote a sentence. I've got the Snipply link. And then here you go. I share this across my social media, and it becomes very easy for people to refer me business.
Real quick, Drew, could you go back on that other slide so that we have just an extra minute to read it? And while that slide is showing, let me just raise the question. Someone asks, do you recommend paying for this service, or is basic good enough?
Basic is good enough. Look, in the long term, once you're making money off it, I have no problem paying for anything. Any technology that's going to make your life easier, I'm willing to shell out money for tech left and right. That being said, I'm a big believer in let it prove that it's valuable for you in your practice area. Use the basic one. All that happens is if you look, I'm going to click back real fast here to the sample of what this looked like. Where we saw the Daily Herald story, and you saw down at the bottom in the lower left-hand corner, what you're going to see is it has my logo, it has whatever I wrote for the call to action, a click here button, and you see the little Snipply thing right at the top, right above the blue click here. And so if you look at that right above the blue click here, you see the Snipply logo. That's what the basic thing means. It means they're going to still have the Snipply logo on it. If you pay for it, that goes away. You also can change the color of the button. So if you're like a psychopath who's like, I have to have the button match the color of my logo, paying for it might make sense. But to start off with, you can just have a blue button and share this stuff, get some traffic, and then once you book your first client off of doing some of this, then go pay for it.
Got it. So wait a minute.
So the free version,
basically the paid version has some customizable
you
features.
can customize some things, you can do some more advanced things, but for anything that anybody on here is doing to start off with, going with the free model is the best way to start in my experience.
Okay, thanks for that.
All right, let me get us back to where we were.
Yep, I think right here.
All right, so now this is something else that is particularly relevant around this time of year because we've had a number of awards probably come out while people were in quarantine. So now for all of us on the call, we all know all of these awards are complete and total bullshit, right? I mean, like, this is the Super Lawyers Award that I won after I was retired from being a lawyer. I was not a lawyer anymore, and I was named a rising star. I have no idea how that kind of stuff happens. There are BS awards that we all win, which, just as a total aside, this is hands down my favorite one. A lawyer submitted his dog's name to Lawyers of Distinction and got his dog named one of the top 10% of lawyers in the country, and then paid the $750 to get his dog listed on Lawyers of Distinction. Definitely just fantastic trolling by attorneys, but all of these awards for the most part are BS. If you haven't won one, don't worry about it. If you have won one, that's great. They're still BS, but you still want to promote them. And when you want to promote them, one of the things that you want to do is you want to issue a press release about it. Now, let me tell you about press releases. Press releases are what you think, most people still think about them like Mad Men style times, where it's like, hey, there's going to be a merger between these big companies. I'm going to issue a press release that's going to go to the Tribune and the Sun-Times and the Daily Herald and a bunch of other newspapers, and they'll write about it as important local news, or if it's a big enough story, in important national news. Well, here's the thing. Newspapers are going under. There's a big problem with this. So what they do now is they just ask companies to write their own press releases, submit them to them, and they're really written for the internet, and they're written for your potential customers who are going to see it. PR Log is a free website that allows you to issue your own press releases. There then are paid options where you can then distribute press releases to more and more people, the more money you pay, where it's like, for free, you can get it across the internet. For like $50, you can get to the internet and some additional news sources, all the way up to like $350 where you can get in front of basically everybody. So just register and sign up for an account for this for your law firm. And then what it will do is let you issue a press release. So now here's a time where I was featured in Yahoo Finance. And this is one of those times where I won one of these utter bullshit awards. Where I was named one of the top 10 divorce attorneys in Illinois. Now, I am not now, have I ever been one of the top 10 attorneys in Illinois. That being said, clients would deceive with stuff. So, of course, there's this story here about me, about how awesome I am. And it's just a glowing story about all my amazing accomplishments. And I should know it's an amazing story about me because I wrote it. I wrote it on PR Log and issued my own press release. It got picked up by Yahoo Finance, and they're carrying it in their finance section saying, you know what you should read about? This dipshit from a chicken farm. And right after that, the next story that they say what to read is about President Trump. Now, for President Trump, he's constantly harping on the idea of fake news. And really what he's talking about is me. I'm fake news. I can issue a press release about anything and get it picked up. This is an actual press release I issued about how good I am at issuing press releases, just to see if I could slide it by everybody. And so I issued a press release about my ability to issue press releases, and they actually let me run this thing. You can write anything you want in these. Now, as lawyers, we have obligations to make sure that they're true. So while I happen to think that all of these awards are bullshit, I actually won this award to be named in the top 10. The things that are in the story about my accomplishment are all things that are verifiable and true. So I'm not saying mislead anybody, but you can issue your own stuff so that you don't have to worry about how can I get into each one of these publications. You can also get creative with how you share this. So recently, we were nominated for essentially social media campaign of the year within the legal practice. We actually won it. It was supposed to be announced like a month or two ago. Hasn't been announced. Thank you, Dana. Hasn't been announced yet because of coronavirus, and they want to do a much bigger showing of it. But when we were nominated, when we found out we were nominated for this, we then issued a press release, which then, as you can see here, got picked up by NBC, ABC, and Fox through doing exactly what we just talked about. So now when I share something like this, I can take an image where it's like, hey, look, I'm in NBC and Fox and ABC. But what did I do? All I did is go back here and write my own freaking press release on PR Log. And it got picked up by all these organizations. Now my company looks much more substantial than it otherwise would. This is a way that as a law firm, you can gain additional traction and get additional referrals. Because then when people are like, oh man, my friend Dana's firm was just in the news. You should have seen all the stuff that they won for. This is a way that you can help get additional traction for your firm and get those easy referrals. Does that make sense? Any questions on that coming in on that, Dana, before I move on to the next little part?
We're good so far. I'll be happy to interrupt you if something comes along.
Perfect.
And yes, it all makes sense.
All right. So next thing is blogging. Blogging is actually important, and I'll talk about that. Later. But for a lot of us, we probably have a ton of content that we've already put into our website. But here's the thing: you're probably not getting a ton of traffic on it, not getting a ton of people reading it. One of the easiest things to do is take existing content and repurpose it into something else. This next tool is amazing for this. This is Lumen 5. It will take any blog article that you have written. All you do is submit your link for it, and it will automatically turn it into a video. And so here, for the next slide, unfortunately, because of how this uploaded, you won't be able to see the video. Dana, how do I share the files from here? Hang on one second. Let me see if I can pop this file in there.
Share the video file?
Yeah, hang on.
If you go down the menu bar to the videos, Drew left the room. I'm not sure. Oh, Drew has joined the room. Drew, can you?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you see me?
No. Can you turn on your video? Yeah, I can.
All right. We'll skip the insertion of the videos from the files here, but it allows you to take take a blog post that you have and turn it automatically into a video. And so that's something you can then share on social media again. And now you can have a link back to your website. You can share a video on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever you're going to be. Okay.
Okay. So, I have a question.
Shoot.
Because we didn't get to see the video, I just want to make sure I'm visualizing it.
Yeah.
So you write a blog which is full of words.
Yes.
And there's probably an image and maybe your profile picture.
Yes.
And what you're telling me is there's some tool that will turn that into a video.
Yes. And what it will do is it will apply artificial intelligence to the words that are in your blog, and it will insert images behind them. And so you'll effectively have a scrolling video of your blog that then has artificially intelligent inserted images. And then you can also change those images. If you don't like them, they give you the option to switch those images out. Oh. And then you can save that video and then upload it onto LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, wherever, and then spread that around the internet. So it's a great way to get people to see your content in a way that they'll actually engage with it, because people will watch a video much, much more than they will read something.
Oh, that's phenomenal, actually, that just all happens.
Yeah, it's free, and just like the Simply thing, there's a paid version where you can get, you can do some things to some more advanced things if you pay for it, but the free version is good enough for getting started.
And what is that called again? What's that tool?
That's called Lumen 5.
Okay, Lumen 5. And we did have a question come up.
Shoot.
It was about the topic just a minute ago, the press release log. The
Yes.
question is, how do you get your press release picked up?
So there's a couple of options. One is to write something extremely interesting that people want to cover. Second thing is you then can guarantee it will get picked up if you pay for one of the services. So for example, I think the most expensive one on PR Log is $350. It is then issued to every single press organization in the country. And some of them are guaranteed to run with it because every news organization is desperate for content right now. They've had to cut back on journalists. They've had to cut back on all kinds of things. And so they will take these press releases and they'll just throw them onto their online newspaper, potentially put in their regulars just to get something out there.
Okay. And did you share your press releases to social media, and did any of the publications pick it up from there?
So I shared the press releases to social media, or I did what I showed in the slide where I took like the screen grabs of like, here it is on NBC and here it is on Fox and here it is on ABC. And I shared that as opposed to sharing like the full press release, just because I was trying to do something different for that particular one. And so it all got picked up from there. And what I got from that was then a lot of people then referring friends or other businesses to, this was for my marketing company at this point, but referring other businesses to me to say, hey, you should check out this guy. He's getting picked up for the news. He's winning these awards for marketing, those types of things. I did the exact same thing back when I was an attorney, back before I sold my law firm. And so a big part of how we were able to double in revenue for 4 straight years was by doing some more advanced social media marketing. This is the free version of a lot of the stuff that we were doing, just kind of updated for modern times.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to get back to our presentation. We were talking about Lumen 5.
Perfect. So we just finished Lumen 5. So that's the last of the free tools. Okay. So the free stuff is, hey, let's share some content. We're going to Google News. We're going to Sniply. We're sharing it on social media. And we have the ability to get in the press by using Help a Reporter Out, issuing our own press releases through PR Log. Last thing is you can then also take the content you've already created with your blog and turn it into a video. Okay. Now let's talk about the paid stuff. Now for the paid stuff, I want to talk a little bit about social media. Okay. So now this is essentially a breakdown of social media from about 18 months ago. 18 months ago, about 74% of all social media traffic went through Facebook or Instagram, which are owned by the same company. When you talk with lawyers, however, lawyers will constantly talk about the fact that what they are looking to use for a social media platform is LinkedIn. 90% of lawyers use LinkedIn. They indicate that they advertise on LinkedIn or market in LinkedIn in some way. And so basically, when lawyers look at graphs like this, they're like, okay, looking at Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, where should I be? Like, oh, I should be on LinkedIn. That's the one I should be on. And
real quick, Drew, sorry to interrupt. I just was wondering if the viewers in the chat, if you could let us know if you are also using LinkedIn primarily, or alternatively, what is your preferred social media marketing choice?
And based on the stats, for most of the people, it will be LinkedIn. Now, it should be Facebook and Instagram. That is where your clients are. 74% of social media traffic flows through Facebook and Instagram. You need to be there and you need to have an active presence there. And so when we start talking about paid stuff, we're going to use a simple set of paid tools that focus on Facebook and Instagram, because that's where you should be focusing. Now, let me give you just kind of a big picture concept as somebody who markets in all of these places. Facebook and Instagram are going to be much, much lower cost than ever trying to advertise on LinkedIn. Marketing on LinkedIn is extremely expensive, and you need to make sure that you're selling something that's extremely high dollar value in terms of return on investment to have it be worthwhile. So for example, I can get clicks to certain things through Facebook ads for fractions of a penny. On LinkedIn, the average is almost $5 per click. So you're talking about, returns that are exponentially larger when you're talking about Facebook in comparison with LinkedIn. And so Facebook and Instagram are absolutely critical tools for lawyers now, especially with what we're seeing during quarantine. During quarantine, Facebook came out last month and said, we've seen an increase across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger of basically 70% across the board. People are using social media and messaging apps like crazy right now because we're all stuck in the house.
Okay, and I have a question now, because are we talking about different demographics? I mean, when it comes to Facebook, am I correct in thinking that the widest demographic is using Facebook, whereas let's say maybe a younger demographic is using Instagram? Or
Yes.
how about an older demographic? For example, my clients are, the ones that do use technology are 50 and up.
Okay.
I don't know that they're all on Instagram.
So big picture, approximately 80% of America is on Facebook. So when you want to say, I want to capture the majority of the possible consumers, you're going to find them on Facebook. Facebook skews a little bit older. Instagram skews a little bit younger. So you're going to see Instagram is everything from high school up to say 40, 45. Facebook typically now is 30 and older, almost exclusively. A lot of younger people are not using Facebook at all, with the exception of having an account for purposes of interacting with grandma or things like that. So Facebook eventually will age itself out unless it reinvents itself, which it's constantly doing by stealing technology from other social media companies.
Okay.
And if you're looking for extremely young consumers, TikTok is where they are. So TikTok is a newer social media, been around for 2 years. It's already bigger than Instagram. And so if you're looking at where are the young people, TikTok is where the youngest consumers are, TikTok and Instagram.
Okay, so let's talk about TikTok just for a few minutes. Now, first, would you explain what TikTok is in case anybody doesn't know? And second, when you're talking about the youngest consumers, I mean, are you talking about teenagers or are you talking about young adults?
You can have TikTok. It's not uncommon for people to be still in junior high or high school who are on TikTok. So you can have a really wide range group there, and it's during quarantine. The demographics have shifted a little bit. So you've had a lot of people in their 20s and 30s have signed up for TikTok within the last 2 to 3 months.
And what is TikTok? I mean, do you have your own profile like you do on Facebook, or is it, because I just see these videos and I'm thinking that it's just an application to make videos?
So it's an application to make videos. So I think the easiest way to think about it is kind of go through the progression where you got LinkedIn, where you've got, hey, this is more or less where I share my resume. I've got, business contacts on there, those types of things. LinkedIn has everybody is on LinkedIn, but nobody actually uses LinkedIn. Think about all the time you've been in quarantine in the last 2 months. How much time did you spend scrolling through LinkedIn? The answer was, I guarantee across the board, we don't even have to put a poll up for this, is almost zero. And so people have a LinkedIn presence, but they don't really use LinkedIn. Now let's flip that to Facebook. Almost everybody has a Facebook account, and a lot of people scroll through Facebook pretty consistently. Their usage rates had been dropping. They've skyrocketed during quarantine. I expect them to come back to earth after quarantine is over, but they still have very, very high usage rates. Instagram is where you're going to then be sharing photos exclusively for the most part, with maybe a sentence or two, maybe a hashtag or two. That's kind of it. Tends to skew towards a younger one. It has a much more positive feel because there's a lot less discussion of politics and things like that on Instagram, because you're just sharing pictures of things for the most part. TikTok is like Instagram, but for videos. And it's also designed around the concept of making a short form video that's supposed to entertain people. And so it's really it's a lot more fun. There's a lot less talk of politics or things like that on it. And if you're someone who wants to avoid that entirely, you actually have the ability to adjust your settings and say, I don't want to hear anything about politics from the left or the right. I just want non-political stuff to go through my feed. And you can do that within TikTok. So it's mostly short videos that are entertaining in some way. There have been some lawyers who have tried to use TikTok. So far, I've not seen anybody do it very effectively. But for the most part, they're just kind of getting on there and trying to figure out how to get their legs underneath them. I have not seen any effective lawyer usage of TikTok outside of personal use by lawyers.
And it's interesting to me that you don't have YouTube on here.
I don't, and that's because YouTube is really a hybrid. And to include that, really, you then have to start looking at what are you going to define as social media? And so what's interesting for YouTube is obviously owned by Google. YouTube's primary function is for uploading videos and then for making those videos searchable. So in that way, its primary function on that aspect is as a search engine. Now, that being said, when you talk to engineers from Google and people who work on the YouTube project, for a lot of those engineers, they would say, well, really what's important about YouTube is you can share a video in a lot of places, but on YouTube, you can comment on it, you can like it, you can have your own channel. So there is a little bit of a social element. So I chose not to include YouTube here because it requires a much more in-depth analysis of what are we going to call social media, what aspect of this is social media, because I guarantee every person in this webinar right now has used YouTube within the last 24 to 48 hours. But I will also guarantee that the number of us who chose to like or comment on a video within the last 24 to 48 hours is pretty low. It's kind of a relatively consistent subset of people who are engaging with material there, and a lot of it is bots. And so I choose to exclude it from most of my social media lectures, but it is something that we use all the time in our actual marketing. And I'll actually talk about it later on as a tool that has to be used in what the future of marketing is going to look like.
Okay, great. Now, before we just move from this slide, can you remind me what we're looking at? Is this usage of these applications?
These are global users of each of these platforms. So it's about 2.4 million users of Facebook, down to around I think it's around 400 million for LinkedIn.
Okay, and this is data that looks at a present value today, or is it like over a period of this last 6 months?
So this is a snapshot taken from there's always going to be a lag time on data. This data is about 6 months old. So take it with a grain of salt, and that in the last 6 months and with all the upheaval due to quarantine, some of these numbers may have shifted. But I think if you were to look at what profiles people have, it would be pretty consistent across the board, probably look like this, that almost everybody has a Facebook and Instagram for the general population, not amongst lawyers. All the lawyers have LinkedIn, and it's because we're choosing the wrong platform, frankly, to focus our attention.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. As you go into the next topic, I just wanted to ask the viewers if they could throw in the chat box. I forgot my question. It just poof. Okay.
That's all right.
It'll come back to me. Go ahead and go to the next topic, and then I'll have people, I'll ask them what I was thinking of. Go ahead.
All right, so this is the paid stuff. I do not want to spend a ton of time on these preliminary things. The preliminary things are, number one, you need to have a Facebook business page. Okay, so this is like essentially a miniaturized version of your website for Facebook specifically. So it's saying my business exists and I have a presence on Facebook as a business. Okay, everybody needs to have one of those. You also need to have an account. An account is how you then are able to advertise on Facebook. What I'm going to teach you here really quickly is how to make your first ad on Facebook without having to pay a guy like me to do it for you. Okay,
Drew, that was my question. You just nailed it. Viewers, I just wanted to know if anybody has tried any of the Facebook advertising, and if you have had any challenges. While Drew starts to talk about this, it would be a good time to talk about challenges you've had so that maybe we can touch upon them and ask Drew.
All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly through these first two sections because they're really procedural, where it's like just follow this step, follow this step, follow this step. And the reason I'm going to blow past those, you guys can use the materials from here. You can go to my website and get the materials from the marketing tips section and go through this step by step. If you don't have a Facebook business account and if you don't have a Facebook ad account, okay? So here we go. Step number one, we're going to get a Facebook business page, all right? You set this up through your base Facebook account. And this is, you just work through, create a business or brand, get started, name your company. Obviously, don't name your company Lawyer McLawface, which is what I used for this example. Throw in a profile pic for your company, a cover photo. You can add online booking where you can actually schedule stuff directly from Facebook now. Clients can get you from there, and you'll end up with a Facebook business page that looks like this, except filled out, okay? Now, once you have that, you're going to want to set up Ads Manager, which is how you develop the ability to run an ad, okay? Ads Manager, you're going to click on Ad Center. You're then going to, once you click on Ad Center, it'll pull up all ads. You're going to click on the Show More Details in Ads Manager, kind of like right there in the center. You're gonna, once that pulls up this new page, you're gonna click on the gear, and what we're gonna do is set up your payment mechanism, because if you want to run an ad on Facebook, you got to be able to pay them. So you put in your business credit card information here. Once you're done with that, in the upper left-hand corner, you click on Business Settings, and then click on Ads Manager, and it's going to take you back to the base Ads Manager page, which we just saw a minute ago. I'm sorry, hang on just one second. Sorry. All right, so now we want to make our first ad. So I know I flew through those things. Go back and look at the materials step by step. Click on this, click on this, click on this to kind of work through it. Everybody should have these things set up. So now let's actually make an ad. So we click on Create. Once we click on Create, here I'm going to show you how to create an ad using messages as an example. Because during quarantine, you can actually set up essentially a really simple chatbot that will start the consultation process for you within Facebook Messenger. And so here we're going to use messaging because nobody has to come to your office. You don't have to go to anybody. They can start interacting with you and your company 24/7, 365. So this can actually help you get clients while you sleep. So when you set this up, you're going to use guided creation. You're going to click on messages. So just follow the arrows, and then set a name. Pick a daily budget. I just set it at $10 a day here. Pick whatever works for your law firm, and you're going to click continue. And again, you can get access to these materials, and obviously each of these things is going to say step by step what to do. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is set a geographic target. Okay, so if you pick the United States in total, you got 220 million people in the United States that you could be marketing to on Facebook. Now, if you say, well, I'm only licensed in Illinois, I want to focus on Illinois, now you're down to 8.6 million people. Let's say that you practice in Sangamon County, where Springfield is. You say, I want to focus it down to my county. So here I focused on Sangamon County, now we're down to 130,000. Or if I only want people who live within the city limits of Springfield, Illinois, now I'm down to 110,000. Or alternatively, you can actually use an office. So this is I used an address of one of the guys I went to law school with, who has a law firm down in Springfield, and within a mile of his office, he has 22,000 people living there. Okay. So once you set your geography, where do you want to target in terms of a physical location? You can then set the age range for people that you want to market to. So let's say you are a criminal defense attorney trying to get DUI clients. There's a decent chance that your demographic might skew younger. And if that's the case, you can limit it down to people who are between the ages of 21 to, let's say, 39. Let's say that was the typical age range for a DUI. As opposed to if you were maybe an estate planning attorney, you might see people who are 30 to 55 being people most likely to ask for an estate plan. You can also then narrow down based on gender. So for example, if you're a family law attorney who says, like I focus on father's rights, for example, I only want to advertise to men, you have the ability to do that. Also, if you speak an extra language, there's a great opportunity to say, I only want to market to people who speak this other language outside of English. The default in the United States for Facebook advertising is English, but you can add other languages that you want to market to and give specific ads to people who speak in other languages. And I will tell you, it's a hugely underutilized service in Illinois. On the personal injury side, we recently ran a test for a personal injury firm that had a Spanish-speaking attorney in addition to English-speaking attorneys. And we were able to acquire clients for them at 25% of the cost for the Spanish-speaking attorney, because people just were not advertising to the Spanish-speaking market. All right, once you figure out what you want to do in terms of location, age, gender, now here's where you can do some really cool stuff with detailed targeting. Okay, so detailed targeting will be this box where you'll be able to click on this and say, hey, who do I really want to see this? And this is a lot of demographic information. So start off by clicking on Browse. And what that will pull up is a menu that looks like this. And if you click on demographics, and let's say you're that estate planning attorney, and you say, I want to focus on only wealthy people. I don't want any poor people that want wills. I want rich people that want wills. You can click on financial and actually limit down your household incomes to say, I want them to be in the top 25% of incomes in America. And now we took that same market in Sangamon County, in Springfield, Illinois, and took it from 130,000 people down to 43,000 people. Okay.
Quick question on that. When you are picking some of these demographics,
yes,
is this information that the Facebook profiler I mean, the person who has the profile is voluntarily?
No.
Okay.
So Facebook is super creepy. There's just no way around it. When you signed up for Facebook, when you signed up for Instagram, when you signed up for Messenger, when you signed up for WhatsApp, for each one of those, you signed a terms of service that says basically Facebook and its companies can track you around the internet in everything that you do. So Facebook actually knows your location to within 25 feet right now. Facebook knows every single website you visited, whether you did it in incognito mode or not. They know everything that Google knows because of that. They also know everything that Facebook knows. They know who your connections are. They know who you talk to. They often know who's in your phone contact list because you signed up for WhatsApp or Messenger. They know basically everything. So for this particular financial subset, this is, do you live within a zip code that indicates you're within the top 25% of incomes? There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do where you can get much, much more specific information for this, where I can, you can target people based on whether they like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There's a whole bunch of stuff where I know that if you search for things related to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches somewhere on the internet, that data is in Facebook, and a guy like me can get access to that.
And another viewer had a comment that I would like you to touch on. He says he's used the Facebook advertising, but as a real estate attorney, Facebook forces him into a housing ad, and that doesn't allow him to direct advertise. Yeah,
so there's some limitations on that. So that's a really complicated area. If you want to share my information with that viewer, I'd be happy to talk with them after this, because that's a really complicated subset of this that requires some specific workarounds to make some of this stuff work.
And is that just for real estate law specifically, or are there particular areas of law where you need to have
actually dealing with the Fair Housing Act? So what they want to make sure that you're not doing is effectively recreating redlining by saying I'm targeting people of specific races or specific wealths in terms of trying to handle this real estate issue. So they're really touchy about real estate stuff.
It's just real estate, or are there other areas of law that need workarounds like that?
In terms of law, it's mostly the real estate side. Within personal injury, you can't talk about someone's specific injury. So, like, let's say, for example, you know that you wanted to target someone who had a spinal injury of some sort. You can't talk about, like, you've had a spinal injury and things like that within your ad. There's a whole bunch of rules about that are way more than we can get into today. But so there are limitations on that.
There's another comment that someone did a quick Facebook ad, but she wasn't sure which objective to use. She used conversion. So I guess the question that I have is, could you discuss what objective to use? And she says that she used conversion and it didn't really lead to much.
And that would be one where, in order for conversion to work, she would have had to have the Facebook pixel installed into her website and then have a custom conversion integrated with that. And so I would have to see what the back end of the technology looked like to make sure that that was all set up properly for that to work. So what they're talking about when they say, what are we choosing? You can choose brand awareness or reach. If you're saying, I want to get in front of as many people as humanly possible for the cheapest dollar amount possible, reach is your best option. Reach is like, stick a pin in your law office and I want everybody within a mile or 10 miles of me to try and get this ad because I don't know exactly which of them might be my potential client. Reach is a perfect option for that. Traffic is an option in the top and the middle if you want to get people to your website. That is a stellar option if you've got a lot of the data tracking set up into your website. So right now, let's say you go to my website because you want to download the PDF of these materials. If you do that, I will be able to remarket to you on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, anywhere on the internet, and I can also get to your streaming television because we have the right tracking built into our website. If you have those types of things built into your website or anything specific on your website that you want people to see, traffic is an awesome one with that. Engagement is a waste of your money. Never, ever, ever run an engagement ad. It is a waste of time. It's like boosting a post. Never, ever, ever boost a post. Boosting a post or running an engagement ad is basically just donating money to Facebook. Don't do it. Video views are okay. It's one where I think now they count it as a video view. If somebody watches more than like 10 seconds of your video would be when you're charged. But unless you're really closing clients quickly in the first 10 seconds, that tends not to be super useful for attorneys. That's more useful for some other products that we like. We represent an insurance company, and for them, there's some benefit to having some short form videos that make a lot of sense. Lead generation is a fucking awesome one. Lead generation is one where you can actually run ads where more or less a landing page internally in Facebook pops up, and it will autofill their name, their phone number, their email. You can ask them questions, things like that. For this particular example that I've got here, we're using messages because starting a chat with someone is a great way to get some of that preliminary information, and we've seen it actually work very well during quarantine. One of my first slides was, hey, why should you listen to me? And it was an example from an existing client of, hey, we're getting clients during quarantine. How we're doing that is running these messaging ads where people don't have to leave their house. And this is a divorce attorney, so they're able to literally do a consultation with somebody while they're sitting on the couch, probably 15 feet from their spouse. And because it's all in a messaging app, nobody knows that's happening.
Drew, real quick, I just wanted to kind of put up the flag because time flies when you're having fun. We have fulfilled our 1 hour of CLE credit time. And I wanted to let the viewers know that we do usually kind of have a 10, 15-minute extension post-show. But if you need to go on, you will have fulfilled your CLE credit and you will receive an email from me asking you to confirm your attendance. And I will also have the materials as well as the link for the white paper in that email. So be on the lookout for that. This video has been recorded. It will be available for replay because we are announcing our new YouTube channel for the Friendly Lawyers. However, CLE credit is not available for anyone who is not here during the live presentation. One other thing I wanted to let people know before they sign off is we have another CLE webinar scheduled for next week, and that is about making your own videos at home that you could use in your marketing. So be on the lookout for an email about that, or through our regular channels that we try and send this information through. Thanks for joining us today. Be sure and enjoy the long weekend. And if you want to stay on, we're going to stay on at least 10, maybe 15 more minutes. I do see that there's a ton of good content here, and a lot of people, I'm sure, want to know more. So I think that I'll probably have a follow-up conversation with Drew about going into detail on some of these topics a little further, potentially even discussing how to set up or what to do when you are trying to track these conversions. That to me sounds like a natural extension. If you have any of those, if you have any ideas for things you want to talk about, shoot me an email or send me a message through our Facebook page. I respond fairly quickly and I enjoy getting them. So again, just
for everybody, the very last slide has my cell phone number and my email. So if you need to get a hold of me and just want to ask a question, just give me a call and I will, I'll make sure to answer anything that you have there for questions. Also, if you just follow along in these steps of like how to make an ad, it literally goes through with these arrows where it's like click here, and it shows you all the different things that you can pull up and how to build your first ad.
Perfect. So now we're just going to go back to where we were in the conversation.
Yep. All right. So now let's say you were an estate planning attorney. You said, hey, I don't just want wealthy people. I have some triggering event. So for example, I want someone who's just had a baby because that would be a time where they would be interested in maybe getting a will or setting up a trust or things like that, establishing guardianship, all that kind of stuff. So you can actually target through demographics instead of financial. You can click on parents. You can target people who've had a baby within the last 12 months. So you can run ads only to people who have had a child in the last 12 months, all kinds of stuff like that. Now, you can also get really creative and you don't have to use that browse button. You can actually type things in that you're looking for. And this is a great area where you can find some really, really simple stuff. So like, let's say you're a personal injury attorney watching now. You can type in personal injury and guess what they have? Personal injury lawyer as an interest. Now, when they show an interest, what does that mean? That means someone on Facebook has interacted with a personal injury Facebook page, or they've searched for something related to personal injury on the internet. So these are people who are actively looking for or engaging with personal injury attorneys in some way. And for a decent number of those people, they won't have an attorney yet. So you can actually really easily find some people that might be an ideal client for you. Okay. Now, you can also, you don't have to search for just one thing. Let's say you're a bankruptcy attorney. You can stack a whole bunch of things where you could say, hey, I'm looking for people who, have some kind of additional issue with a collection agency, with consumer debt, people who've Googled the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act or looked at the bankruptcy court. And you can then stack these things together and then find all the people who are looking for all these and create a much bigger audience that might fit for your marketing. Or if you were a DUI attorney, here you could search for people who like beer and booze and muscle cars. I mean, you can combine these things in kind of any way that you want, right? And so these are ways where you can then target who you want to. Now, once you do that, there will be a question about where do you place this ad, okay? And placing the ad is like, does this go in the Facebook feed? Does this go into Messenger? Does this appear, some on Instagram? Where does this go? For right now, for our purposes, just do automatic placements. There's some art to this that we don't use automatic placements within my agency, but for what you're doing, if you're running your own, just do automatic because you won't have the knowledge to be able to do it exactly the way that we would. Once you do that, within a messaging ad, we optimize for leads, which means that someone has to submit all of their information. They would have to submit their name, their phone number, their email, tell us when they wanted us to call them, those kinds of things, for us to be willing to count it as something that's helpful for us. For scheduling, just run the schedule continuously. If you have questions about it, I can walk you through how to do some more advanced scheduling stuff. But again, that's much more technical. Once you do that, a third page will pop up for the ad itself. And here you just want to make sure you've got your business name in there. If you have a business Instagram page, that you link your business Instagram page with this. And then what you want to do is actually make the ad itself. And this will tie together with what Dana is. It sounds like there's a new CLE that you guys are going to do about making videos for yourself. One of the things you could do is the video they'll teach you how to do, stick it right in here as your single video and upload it. If you, what we have here is obviously just click on single image or video, add the media. If you've already got something that's existing that you want to share, you can do it. If we had video playing through this would show you the ad that just won social media campaign of the year for a local Chicago firm that we ran. And how we make a lot of our ads is through a technology called Promo. Promo is basically it's like stock footage, but you're then able to throw text over and do a whole bunch of really cool stuff. We've won Legal Ad of the Year twice, both times using Promo stock footage and their technology. And so, like I said, this is not the free stuff now. Some of this is paid. This is $50 a month. If you wanted to get like the most basic plan, obviously we're an agency, so we have the most expensive plan on earth. But then once you have that, if you can actually get a 10% discount because I have the agency plan. If I share the link with you, you then get 10% off. So if anybody wants to use Promo, just use this link, and it'll at least save you $5 a month on that basic plan. Alternatively, if you don't want to pay for Promo, this is like the true, like I have $0 to be able to throw into my creative. You can go to a Word document, click on insert an online picture, and Microsoft Word will allow you to then do a search for, like, let's say estate planning here. And then you want to make sure you've got the box checked for Creative Commons only. Creative Commons, you can use that for your own purposes for some of these ads. And so you could grab an image from here that is already allowed to be licensed for you. And you can also take this within the Word document. If you click on picture format and artistic effects, you can then adjust what it looks like by making it look like it's a pencil drawing, changing colors, doing all kinds of stuff to kind of make it your own. And that will cost you $0 and give you an image that you can use right now. You also, of course, can use your phone. Just pick your phone up, take a video of yourself doing stuff, talking about whatever it is you want to talk about. Won't be the fanciest thing in the world, but it'll at least be something that you can share if you don't want to pay for a service like Promo. All right, so now you've got your ad. You submit your either a picture or a video of yourself into that. Then all you do is you start writing things about what you want people to do. Okay, so this is your primary text and your headline. So, for example, I used our own firm as want to know the one strategy law firms need to land clients during quarantine. Click send message and get step-by-step instructions. You can do the exact same thing where it's, hey, want to know the one question that will determine how many issues you have in your divorce. Click on our messenger, click to send us a message, and we'll give you the question and analyze your case for you right within the chat bot. You then add a headline. Here I put, I'm the Maharaja of marketing, so it would stand out for you. That's down in the bottom side, and it's then going to allow you to send a message. You then literally just follow the buttons and create like a really basic chat bot. And with this chat bot, you're going to be able to click on a series of buttons that'll let you then ask questions. So let's say that here I was using my wife Jenny. I was using her computer as the sample, so it automatically was pulling her name from her Facebook account. Where it's like, hi Jenny, please answer these questions, and you can have what city do you live in. You can add all kinds of additional information by clicking on Add Questions down at the bottom, and you'll see it'll pull up a menu where you can ask for phone number, email, address. You can ask for short answer questions where you can ask, hey, tell me why it is that you need our help, what we can do for you. You can give them a multiple choice option of, like what type of, do you need a will? Do you need a trust? Do you need to address guardianship? All kinds of things like that. You also can, as you build those out, you then can, you have to attach your website and your privacy policy. Then you just click save and finish, and now you built a really simple chatbot. Now, this is not the artificial intelligence style of chatbot that will automatically respond to people. It's one where it'll ask them basic questions. It will determine if they gave a valid answer. So if you ask for a phone number and they, say that they give you a phone number that's missing a digit, it'll say, hey, that number isn't registering. Can you resend that to us? Things like that. But it's not going to have the ability to use artificial intelligence to truly interact with another person. Okay. Then you click save and finish, and then click confirm, and that's it. You ran an ad. And then what would happen if you were running a messenger ad? These ads will pop up within Facebook feeds, within Instagram, across the internet. And then once somebody fills out their information, gives you their name, their number, you'll get a notification in Facebook that you got a lead. And you'll also be able to click on your inbox within your Facebook business page, and that will show you the leads that have come in.
Perfect. Well, Drew, whew, you have given us a lot of work to do, and I am so appreciative. While you were talking,
implement these things all, like every one of these things, pieces of this you should be able to implement at your own pace, but each of these are things that you should be able to do just following step by step what's in here. Okay. And we're not going to get a chance to really talk about the future, but the future is going to essentially be combining these, and particularly combining these with some of the video stuff that you'll learn probably in the next CLE, and using that to maximize search engine optimization in conjunction with PR, in conjunction with social media, and in conjunction with your website, and using that to be found by clients in a much more efficient way.
I think the future in law also sounds like a great CLE topic that we can discuss. While you were finishing up your presentation, I did create and submit the poll that you requested, which was, is Drew a great presenter or the greatest presenter? And I'm happy to report that we had a lot of answers come through. 77% of our viewers think you are the greatest.
Excellent.
I wanted to thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with us. I'm so happy that you agreed to do this, and I really appreciate your support for our group as we try to collaborate and support other attorneys and bring them success. So thanks again for your time and your expertise.
Awesome. And again, anybody, last slide has my cell phone number, my email. If you have questions or something wasn't clear, just give me a call. You can always give me with a text or with a call. And so that's my personal cell phone. I'll pick up and I'll answer whatever.
You said that? Oh my God, my heart started going fast when you said that. All right, well, thanks friends for joining us. We are going to close out this presentation, but stay tuned. We have more stuff to come.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.